Hello, this is one of the last lessons in the Fundamental Human Needs series, and it's one that we don't actually get to very often. I mean, we talk about it, but we don't get to the actual lesson. So I'm kind of excited to do this one because it's all about using research to do follow-up for fundamental human needs. Now, I've mentioned it in the past that there's so many different things you can research with the fundamental human needs, but we're going to talk kind of specifically about what you can do. Now, we're going to use ancient Egypt as an example because I would probably say it's one of the most famous ancient civilizations, and it's the one that we know a decent amount about. So if we think about doing research about the ancient Egyptians using the fundamental human needs chart as a guide, it will give us some structure to our research. Now imagine this. Imagine I'm doing ancient Egypt and I want to talk about, well, I want to talk about their houses. Now, before we talk about their houses though, I want you to think about this. I could go back in time and I could eat the ancient Egyptians' food. I could sleep and live in the ancient Egyptians' houses. I could wear their clothes. I could travel in their wagons and on their paths. And I could attend their religious services, okay? Because I am human. They could come to the future and live in our world and they could survive. It would be really strange for both of us. But because we're both human, it would work. So think about that. Now, okay, here we go. So if I wanted to do ancient Egypt as research, I would ask myself, what were their houses like? Well, they're not made out of steel. Okay, they were made out of mud. They were made out of mud bricks because of how the Nile River flooded. Okay, and it was a really easy building material. If I look at defense, there's a lot of things I can talk about, their weapons and their armies and such, but they also built fortresses at certain areas to protect against some of their neighbors. For example, they had some trouble with the Nubians. Transportation, they had mostly like dirt paths. People would ride donkeys and carry stuff on donkeys. They'd carry things on their head and some wagons. They didn't really have camels come in towards the end of like when the pharaohs were ruling. As for food, they ate lentils and all kinds of greens and cheese and butters and such. For clothing, they wore linen. Linen is a very common fabric. What else? And then for spiritual, they had a very particular type of worship, which included burying their pharaohs in pyramids. They didn't live in the pyramids. They were religious objects. They had statues, all kinds of stuff. Now, what you can do is you can choose a culture from the past or from the present and use the fundamental human needs chart as a way to guide your research. Okay, you could do a short, you could write paragraphs about them, you could draw pictures about them, you could look up different things. There's a lot you can do. But what we really need to think about is that these fundamental human needs are shared by all humans, regardless of where you live, regardless of what you look like, and regardless of what time period you lived in. And I think that's really fascinating. There is a lot of great follow-up work we can do from this lesson. Thanks.